Hello and welcome to you all. You have reached the Wharton Business School overview webinar of our upcoming program, Business Acumen for Rising Executive Program. All right, with us today, we have Karima Marima, author, who's a program leader and subject matter expert for Emeritus. Karima, why don't you come on in and say hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome with us today, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Karima Mariama Arthur. I am a corporate attorney and subject matter expert in the area of leadership development and business acumen. Can't wait to take you through the program today.
Thank you, Karima, and thank you again for being here. So quickly, we'll just go through a couple housekeeping and just talk a little bit about the school before we dive into the content. So why learn business acumen for rising executives through Wharton Online? And the biggest reason is that Wharton is the first business school in the entire world. Fun fact. Yes, if you did not know that, not only the first business school in the United States, but it's the first business school globally. And they're recognized globally for intellectual leadership and ongoing innovation across every major discipline of business education. So we are at the forefront of where business began. This is a global program, as Karima said. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to Pennsylvania. Here is a picture of the Wharton School. For those of you who are close, we welcome you to come visit the campus. You are welcome. And for those of you who are across the globe, once you get signed up with the class, you'll meet some great folks from across the world. And many of our past programs, folks have come to meet and have a little class reunion here at the Wharton School. So hopefully you'll be able to come on down and visit us in person. For now, we're going to do this digitally and be able to be connected in so many different ways from every part of the world. So welcome warmly and virtually to the Wharton School. Okay, I see Philip saying good morning from Jacksonville. Hello, Philip. Thank you for saying good morning, and we welcome you. Happy to have you here. And for those of you online, we can't wait to see you. All right, for those of you who have not had a chance to meet or follow, this is Dean Erica James. She's the Dean of the Wharton School. I don't normally read from PowerPoint slides, but I feel that this quote is very impactful and speaks to exactly the methodology and strategic thinking that Wharton embodies. Dean James says, today's environment means you can't afford to simply respond to or manage change. The best businesses must anticipate change and even intentionally create change as so not to become complacent. At Wharton, we are excited to be the partner to help you get there. So I think this is a really powerful quote, really being actively intentional of creating that change that you need in order to grow. And you can learn how to do that here at the Wharton School. So again, thank you, Dean James. I highly recommend you look her up if you haven't already. All right, let's get into some content, the program overview. This slide is just talking a little bit about why you should consider learning business acumen as a business leader. It's important to understand who you're talking to, whether it's IT, strategic growth, your development department, other managers that you're managing and beyond. You want to be able to work cross-functionally with all of them. And here's a couple of statistics here. Again, I'll say here that the program that you're about to be a part of is going to be recorded. You will get a copy within 24 to 48 hours after we close out, and you will also receive the slide deck as well. So we encourage you to go through and look in more detail once we close out the webinar. All right, who is this program for? So for those of you who are in the room with us today, tell me, where do you think you fall in this category? Here are the three groups of folks we thought about when we designed this program, from experienced senior managers to aspiring managers and entrepreneurs. And again, once you get with your classmates, you'll be learning shoulder to shoulder with folks from these categories and beyond from all over the globe. You'll have a unique opportunity to have your pulse on the business markets across the world. Okay. We have quite a few thought leaders who are going to be taking you through some amazing content. I'll talk briefly about our program faculty. I know you're excited to hear from Karima, and then we'll get into the content. You'll be learning from Claudine Gardenberg, who's the Assistant Professor of Management at the Wharton School, along with Richard Lambert, the Miller Short Professor of Accounting at the Wharton School, Michael Roberts, William H. Lawrence Professor of Finance at the Wharton School, Raghu Iyengar, Myers-Bush, 1885 Professor of Marketing, Faculty Director at the Wharton Customer Analytics at the Wharton School. We also have Andrew Carton, who's the Associate Professor of Management, and Matthew Bidwell, who's a Professor of Management at the Wharton School. So here are the faculty that you will have the opportunity to learn from. And I'm going to invite Karima back in the spotlight to talk a little bit about how those faculties, you'll be interacting with them. She'll be going through the course content. And of course, she is the person who is in there supporting you. With that, I welcome Karima back and take it away.
Thank you so much, Kay. I personally have had the opportunity to work with Matthew Bidwell, but you have an opportunity to learn firsthand from all 6 professors. So that's really one of the unique things about this course, because you don't always get this much interaction from so many diverse scholarship areas. Matthew Bidwell, you'll get to know him because he's done a lot of work in the employment area, does a lot of research, looking at the market and looking at managing your career success across boundaries. One of the key things that you'll learn about him is he'll be looking at sponsors, mentors, managing your career success, certain kind of taxonomies that will give you something that you've never had before in terms of management of your career success. So let's move on to the next portion. What we want you to take away and be able to do and learn how to do from this particular course is look at strategic management and how to apply that to your overall process. Look at financial reports and tools so that you can make informed decisions on how to make decisions for your organization from a 50,000-foot level. You'll also look at how to develop and attract or retain your talent, because that's a key portion of having your business acumen. You'll also look at the customer experience and interface with them both internally and externally. Finally, you look at how to analyze data and AI, because that's a big topic right now, because we want you to be able to make those decisions, looking at how strategic management looks at things that are both tools and also AI. Here are the program modules, and we're going to take a quick deep dive into each one of them and what they represent. The first module is business and strategy. This really lays the foundation for what you're going to be doing in this course. You're going to look at what sustainable value looks like over time, how strategy affects your competitive position and how to gain competitive advantage. Look at how the industry may shift over time, because nothing is stable. We know that we live in a VUCA world. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You're also going to look at how to discuss your organization's ability to anticipate change, particularly around its competition, and really look at how to look at best practices when you're looking at strategy for your overall organization. And this module will be led by Claudine Gartenberg. This is the first faculty that we introduced you to. In module 2, we'll shift to finance and accounting, because that's a key component. We're in business, look at what that looks like at a deep dive. You'll be looking at the different kinds of financial components and how to interpret them. You'll look at how to determine the financial health of your organization and maybe compare it to other organizations who may be doing well and not so well. How do they invest time and money in terms of the big picture, what those organizational goals and missions look like? How to deconstruct cash flow and other key financial pro forma documents, and look at different methods of how to organize and compare what those investment decisions can look like for you, whether you're making them or part of a team that's making them at the highest level. This particular module will be led by 2 faculty, both Richard Lambert and Michael Roberts. In module 3, we'll shift to developing and engaging talent. I talked about talent being the bedrock, our people. We can't do anything without the people that help the organization to move forward. So when we're looking at talent, here are some key things that I want you to think about, and Matthew Bidwell will be teaching this to you. What are the essential components of developing and executing a talent strategy? From looking at where you find your talent in the marketplace, to retaining them, to giving them that long-term strategy and education, and keeping them where you want them to be and helping them to excel within your organization. So in this module, you'll be looking at things like high-performing talent and high-potential talent, also evaluating best practices for hiring, because we know that's not something as straightforward as it might seem. How do you develop your employee skills to help them reach their potential? That's a key outcome for this course. And what is the future? What does the future look like for that workforce? Are they going to be maintained within your organization, or will they fly outside and make lateral moves? Finally, you look at strategies for building and retaining your diverse talent, and things like DEI will come up as well. In Module 4, we'll look at marketing and understanding the customer, how you identify the marketing segment by looking at mapping. Mapping is a key component of how to take a deep dive on what that looks like. What are the best methods for collecting data? Because we want to understand where the customer is on a continuum from inception to when they may go to the next level. How to interact with your customers across multiple channels, and you'll see what those channels look like. And finally, how to utilize lifetime value in terms of your marketing strategy when you're dealing with your customer and interfacing with them on the big picture. Raghu Iyengar will be teaching this and giving you some key case studies around the market in this module. Modules 5 and 6 are the final ones for this course. In 5, you'll be looking at data analytics and how to use those data analytics to make decisions around what the organization is going to do, both in the short term and the long term. For example, you'll be looking at how to look at preparedness, what that means around data analytics, and not just data, because sometimes we look at data for what data is, but we need to be able to draw insights. So we'll teach you not just how to understand the data, but how to draw insights and explain them in the concept of story. Also look at critical data concerns for an organization, what that means in terms of the organizations that they interface with, not just competition, how to look at and test data associated with challenges we might have in organizational management, and finally, really take a customer-centric approach on how we can use data, not just in this industry, but across industries, because most organizations will interface across a spectrum. Again, you'll find yourself with Raghu Iyengar in this, showing you what data looks like, AI looks, and how to make good market decisions. Finally, we'll wrap up with Module 6 with personal leadership. Here we'll look at what does it mean to be a leader, and not just any kind of leader, but an effective leader. What are those attributes? What are those characteristics? Does it just depend on your technical expertise? You find that it doesn't. We'll look at those fundamental skill sets that most of you know as soft skills here. You'll also look at identifying those attributes that will help to motivate you, not just in this organization, but as you interface across industries in the workforce. What are those factors that help to drive engagement? We know that the Gallup polls show that so many employees are disengaged. How do you turn that around? And what are the signs to look for if that's happening in your workforce so you can really get to the meat of what you need to do? And then what are some opportunities? So take a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths and weaknesses within your personal leadership characteristics? And what are the opportunities and threats that you can look at that can help you achieve maximum success? And this faculty, Andrew Wharton, will help you to go through this module 6 as you wrap up everything from 1 up until the final module. In the playbook, these are some of the sample activities that you can look forward to doing, and these will help you to cement the learning, lift it up, and not just make it a didactic experience, but something that's very practical that you can take into the workforce right as you're going through the course. You look at questions about your own organization's experience. How do they identify their customers and target them and understand what's going on? Looking at things like competitive advantage, which are critical to understand that this thing does not happen in a vacuum, that you're a live, breathing organization, and you want to be able to interface in real time. You'll also be able to compare 2 different organizations, Target and Walmart. These are going to be our key case studies, and we'll use some common size statements in terms of how you understand how those organizations were developed and how they operate in the market. You'll also look at mapping. We talked about that earlier, but a certain kind of mapping where you look at your customers or your big customer pools kind of journeys that they're going through to say, what do these data points mean? And again, we're looking at data not just for data's sake and AI's sake, but what are the insights that we can draw for them? And finally, you have an opportunity to reflect, particularly around your final exam, to what these analytics mean, and what are some roadblocks or challenges that your organization may face, and what are the tools you can use from your leadership toolbox to be able to overcome them. Now I'll give the program back to Kai, and we'll take you through the program experience.
Thank you so much, Karima, for that. All right, so pushing forward to our program experience. Here's a nice visual of what you can expect from discussion boards, industry examples, activities that will help you implement what you've learned, as well as live office hours and live sessions with your faculty. Karima is your program leader and has been program leader for other programs. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I'm not sure she'll be your exact program leader, but we have program leaders who are just like her, who helps the students throughout the program. So again, any of those questions that you have, she's a good person to answer what the experience is like as a student taking this class. Here we can expect each week. We understand that you're all busy professionals, many of you already in the management industry and senior managers. So we have bite-sized learning. You can plan and expect to spend about 4 to 6 hours per week on homework. And again, these assignments are targeted so that you can start implementing them in your business right now. So as you're going through your work, you can start thinking about how you'll implement them into your organization or your business. The assignments that you'll have are very transferable. There are peer learning discussions, again, industry discussions and live sessions, much like this, except, correct me if I'm wrong, Karima, you're able to have your video on as well as come off mute and talk to your staff, their faculty who are running the sessions.
Absolutely. And Kai has explained to you 50,000-foot view of what you can expect when you're with us each week in our sessions. And I'll just add that, yes, 4 to 6 hours per week is what you can expect, but some may take more or less depending on how you work. Also understand that you will find the sweet spot for how you want to do your learning. It may be throughout the week, or if you have a heavy work schedule, you may take that into the weekend. So know that is another flexible component of this program. In addition, we encourage you to use that online portal in Canvas to really discuss, get to know your colleagues, put your own content in there, ask questions. It's a really interactive experience and place for you to be able to be live and direct. This is not a static situation. You'll really find that you'll get the greatest value when you're active in those discussions. So we encourage you to do that each week.
Nice. And thank you, Karima, for going into that. Exactly. It's not static, much like how you're interacting in the chat right now. Thanks again, Michael, for joining the chat, Philip as well. This is how you will be interacting with your peers. And we can talk about this in more length in the Q&A, but many of our past cohorts have created LinkedIn groups, WhatsApp chats. Again, I mentioned some folks have even come to visit the school as well, many of our programs. So these are all options to stay connected. The wealth of knowledge you'll have with students and peers and colleagues from around the globe is just immeasurable. So definitely take advantage and be interactive in your learning and participating in those chats. Okay. And again, frequent course communication from your program leader, someone much like Karina. All right, so here's what upon successful completion, you'll receive a certificate. It looks just like this. It's printable. You can add it to your digital resume, LinkedIn, and showcase your learning here. Okay, and with that, we'll leave it at the sign-in page. My team in the background is going to drop a link in the chat and it will take you to the screen as where you can apply now. You can also schedule a call with an advisor. If you have any current questions about financials, class logistics, any of the logistical questions of the program, our program advisor will answer. Will there be direct interaction with the professor or will it be recorded? Is there a time each week for a live session? Prima, if you want to go into a little bit more detail about what that looks like in real time as your experience as program leader.
So I'm looking forward to that in this course. Like I said, I've worked extensively with Matthew Bidwell, and he comes on at certain times. And of course, I lead with him around managing career success. And it's a wonderful opportunity because, yes, you get these videos that you get to see them and understand them and learn from them in a discrete sort of situation. But when you also get the opportunity to see them offline and in the deconstructed sessions, you get the opportunity to ask them questions, to learn about their personality, that they're humans, just like we are. They have great personalities and can really give you some insight about what's happening right now, some things that happened last week. For all of us are really keen on the banking situation that's happened now with SVB. And so you'll see a lot of that talk coming around, especially when we talk about financials and corporate financials and acumen, particularly around corporate governance and audit committees. So that gives you something to really look forward to. The other thing I was going to say is that, yes, the office hours each week, they will be recorded. So if you're not able to come to a live session, don't fear. We'll have those sessions normally available for you within about 24 hours afterwards, as well as the slides that go along with that particular session. So you won't be out, although you won't be live, you'll still have an opportunity to read and see what happened, get the questions that your colleagues have asked, and really catch up on additional learning. So I encourage you to come to the sessions where you can, and where you can't, in the off chance, please do go back and listen to the recording and look at the slides, and then go ahead and forward up any questions to myself or your other program leader that you may have there in real time. And I encourage you to ask any other questions about the program experience itself, what to expect on the platform, any other kind of thing while we have you here. It is our pleasure to do that. Oh, I see. Philip has a question. Is there follow-on coursework that builds upon what we learn here? Is there an extra work that we can do in the module if we want to do some more in-depth study on our own? Yes, we have various courses along Wharton's panoply of leadership and business courses, many that you can choose from, and we can talk about that when you get into the course and see where there may be some gaps that you want to get into, but there are over 50 that you can take that will really build on this particular experience. In terms of ever extra work in the module, you'll see that we have case studies and resources that you'll find within Canvas in the module. And also, as you get into the office hours and as you look at some of the sessions that are recorded, there will be some extra kind of work for you to do, just build upon what you're doing in this discrete section. The other situation that you might want to consider is people always ask, gosh, how much time do we have to get all of this knowledge, to absorb all this knowledge? The wonderful thing about the program here is we give you 365 days to keep this knowledge. In some other programs, you may get the full length of the program itself, which would be 6 weeks. But here you get 365 days. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is encourage you to download the materials, download the process graphics, case studies, all of that, so that you can have them in your coffers and refer to them when you can, just in case you forget within 365 days. But there'll be plenty of work for you to do. And then your classmates, as I encourage you, will be dropping in their own case studies, looking at other kinds of things, other kinds of exchanges. So there'll be lots of learning to look forward to in this course.
All right. Thank you, Philip, for your question. And thank you, Karima, for fielding it. So some questions that are common that come up, what would you say would be it? There are no prerequisites for the program, but is there anything that you say students who are successful have this? Like what would you need to really be successful to start this program?
Yes, you'll find that your classmates come with a range of experience. For example, some people come because they just want to be a business person. They're starting their career and they want to get the foundations. You'll find that people have a range up to maybe a half a lifetime of experience. So that's one of the things that I want you to look forward to in terms of who are your classmates and how does the learning take place and how does the interchange take place. So you're going to be successful no matter what, because you're in a room with people who are geared for that sort of success. In terms of how you can cement your success going forward, is I would ask you, as each module is released every week, to go ahead and look at it as soon as possible, to take your time with it. You'll have both required assignments with every module, at least one required assignments, and then what we call triad activities, which really cement the learning. And those are not required, but they're highly suggested. Most of our students do all of those assignments to get the best experience, to get the best learning experience, to be able to fact check and make sure that they understand what they're actually getting. So I would encourage you to do that. It's not a heavy lift. A lot of them are Q&A or sort of matching exercises, the triad activities, but they really help you to cement the learning. So that's part of the way that you're going to get the best experience and not to get behind. As I said, you'll have the opportunity to look at whether or not you want to take this Monday through Friday or right away or take it to the weekend. However you decide to do that, try your level best to get the things in on time, to stay ahead of the game so that you don't find yourself with all this onslaught of work to do at the end, especially when we get around the final, because we want to be able to get you your certificate as soon as possible. And that can happen if you're behind the scenes. So we want to make sure that you are in the best position to do that. And that's one way to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. And how do we stay connected? I know we talked about joining the discussions and being sure that you're participating, but in your experience, the program leader, have you seen the fruition and the beginning and creation of these LinkedIn groups of folks connecting? And are there any unique experiences that you think that you could share that would be relevant to how we connect as students who are working asynchronously globally?
Yes, absolutely. One of the initial ways, as I've mentioned, when we have the sort of hello and welcome when you first get in before module one, you'll see that everyone will say hello, they'll introduce themselves. That's the first opportunity for you to say, hey, this is who I am, and let your classmates know who you are, because they may see opportunities for collaboration and you'll see synergy. So certainly do that. Also, we have LinkedIn groups that we create offline, and you're welcome to do that. You're not required to do that, but we encourage you to do that because you build community. And that's another extension of the learning process that we have here. So also connect individually with LinkedIn. If there are some key people that you see that collaboration as a possibility with, do not hesitate to do that. People also use WhatsApp and create groups at WhatsApp. So I think there's a lot of different, even Slack, there's a lot of things at your disposal that you can use. And we encourage you to do that, not to just take this as again, operating in a vacuum by yourself, but to collaborate and bring in your community as you have this experience. Philip asks, on average, how many students are in each cohort? That actually depends on what people are doing at the time and how many people have been there. I've seen as many as a few tens of 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, up to hundreds of people in these cohorts. We are not at the final portion for this particular course, so I'm not sure exactly how many will be here, but I can say from on an average, you may find between 30 and 50 people in this kind of cohort, up to several hundred, depending on what people are doing and what the need is at the time.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Philip, for all your questions. They're going to be helpful for those who are going to catch this webinar at a later date. And again, this is a perfect example of how you don't have to miss anything. You have on-demand sessions, the live sessions. You can talk with your program advisor, your program leader, what's the best to make it. I know that we're in many different time zones, but we highly encourage you to try to make it to that live session so that you can really participate. Karima, have you ever in the past had students who maybe were in a time zone that didn't work, and are they able to submit their questions perhaps so that they can be answered in the live discussions to be watched later? Does that ever happen?
Sometimes it does, and we're happy to do that because you have advance notice, you have advance links of to when the office hours are. So you're welcome to submit those to your program leader, and they're happy to discuss them live. Also, even if it happens after the fact, we have the on-demand announcement feature. So we're happy to send content and answers to questions in that feature for the entire cohort to be able to see. That's another way. Also, bring your questions. Part of what you'll see in those office hours is a refresh with a spin on perspective on the content for that particular module, as well as in-session questions that come up based on what's driving people's curiosity around that particular aspect of business acumen. So what you'll see too, one of the things I wanted to highlight is that when you think about business acumen, and this course is certainly talking about, you've seen the statistics at the beginning that Kay went over that talked about why executives are failing, like the big acumen is obviously missing. You'll also find that those fundamental skill sets, those soft skills that I talked about are also missing. And the more research that we do, the think tanks are finding out that the number one reason for executive failure, for example, is a combination of both acumen and those fundamental skill sets. I'm really excited that each of you have decided to take this on and elevate your reach within the business community, because you can only be at your best if you commit to lifelong learning. And so beyond your degrees, it's important to understand that reading, certifications, programs like this are the way that you really get to have the competitive edge and really show up the way you want to within your industry. So I'm proud that you are here taking advantage of this, because this is key for you to operate at the highest levels.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again, Karima. So excited to have you here, and thank you for taking time out of your day. I don't see any more questions popping up. If they are, I'm going to give us a few moments to think about that and get those in. But while we're waiting to see if there are more questions, Karima, is there any words of wisdom, some thoughts you'd like to share as far as folks who are considering taking the program, things that you've taken away from being a program leader and working side by side with Wharton School and the faculties?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. One of the things that I've learned being a program leader is that it's incredibly enriching. And I always like to say, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. Why would I say something like that? Because this is a collaborative experience. This is a duality, if you will. So we are pouring into you. The professors of record are pouring into you. But guess what? You're also pouring into us. We're listening for how you're receiving this information. We're looking at how you engage with your classmates. We're listening to those questions that you have that get at the heart of what you need to become really skilled as a business professional in this very VUCA world that I spoke of. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that you've taken the leap to go ahead and move forward with Wharton says a lot about you, says a lot about what you want to do in your career and the contributions that you want to make. And so I found it incredibly rewarding to interface with you. I've learned so much from the students within my cohorts, the learners within my cohorts, because you bring so much past experience, questions, sort of things that prick the conscious that we may not have anticipated. So I encourage you to be an active learner, to ask your questions, to put forth your ideas and your perspectives. And that's what we're looking forward to, because guess what? That also helps us to tweak our programming going forward. We may have as we have developed a program with certain attributes, but listening into you, seeing how you interface in the program helps us to build a better one every next go round for every next cohort. So do not hesitate to bring what you want to see and the kind of burning questions that you have on that are top of mind so that we can use that to filtrate what we're doing and give the best experience to not only you in real time, but the cohorts that come behind you.
I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to be here with us. Thank you, Karima, for so much for coming through. We really appreciate being with you, and we look forward to seeing you again. For all you all, thank you. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. We'll see you next time. Thank you, team.
Bye-bye.